Alright, we're going to talk about this. How's it going? It is TVR, Xorro, lay for dinner. Call me whatever the fuck you want to call me at this point. We are doing another episode of TVR Asks, and I'm feeling real good today, so let's see if these answers make me feel even better. And the question this time around was, who is your favorite Disciple artist family member, current or former, and why? So basically anyone that's been on the official Disciple roster. You get the gist, I think. As always, best answers get featured in the video, and here we go. Definitely E-Craze. He's been the most consistently great artist in Disciple, and I haven't heard a bad track from him since Get Real. And now he's one of my favorite artists. Man doesn't miss, and his style may be a tad simple, but he always does amazing executions. The stompiness and the compression that he adds sometimes, and the sound design makes me love most of his tracks. By the way, he did my favorite track from the most recent Knights of the Roundtable comp. And if you've seen my video on Knights Volume 6, then you'll know that that is also one of my favorites, so, I mean, I can't blame him there. E-Craze is an artist that has definitely grown on me over the years. His original stuff on Roundtable, not quite for me. His first couple EPs, they have their rough edges for me. I'm not 100% into them. But once he got into that bassier sort of like stabby style that he kind of does more nowadays, once he started doing that, that's kind of when E-Craze really kind of got a hold of my attention. And this will go for pretty much all of the artists on this list. I have not heard their entire discography, so I can't really comment on everything that they've ever made. However, in terms of their current status and their current sound, I do like what they put out, and I am keeping an eye out for what they put out next. It's Virus Syndicate! Artist! Disciple! Blah! That was fucking terrible. Virus Syndicate is fucking amazing. They know how to spit some fire-ass bars, with their performances delivering on every verse they're on and giving tons of energy to some solid beats. When a song by Virus Syndicate is bad, it's almost never due to Virus Syndicate themselves. Legendary duo for sure. Oh dear, where do I begin with these two? I really like their energy. I really like the way they come off on a lot of these songs. Especially when they just happen to be on like the most random collab. Like it kind of blew me away back in 2019 when they had a boss fight collab on that boss fight EP that came out, Next Wave. They're quite the interesting duo, and I don't want to say I love them personally. I do find some of their work to be pretty weak. Specifically, there was an EP they put out back in 2022. I think it's just called Dead Sick or something like that. There's a song on there called Alphabet Rhythm, and I'm pretty sure just by the title itself you can pretty much guess where that song goes, and that's a really rough one. But yeah, overall I think they can bring a lot of energy to a song, especially if the song itself is not, that powerful in and of itself. A great example is the Chibs collab that they had back on Alliance Volume 5. Still one of my favorites from that compilation, and I just think they work well together. I don't know. Definitely Dirty Phonics. Dirty Phonics have had so many bangers on Disciple. Most of their tracks on Disciple, including some of their Monster Cat songs, are just fantastic and hit very hard. A lot of their tracks, mostly in the dubstep side, are energetic and very engaging and fun to listen to, and you can't really go wrong with most Dirty Phonics except for their recent D&B releases, because I'm not a fan of D&B. I kind of agree with you there. Last but not least, Dirty Phonics are the ones that created my all-time favorite song, otherwise known as Evil Inside, with Boss Fight, of course. I just love their heavy dubstep style so much, and in my opinion, DP are the best in the Disciple family. I'm going to level with you right now. Dirty Phonics is probably the most 50-50 artist I have ever known on Disciple. Not even just on Disciple, just in general. They don't really excite me that much, but at the same time, their songs aren't bad. They have good quality stuff that I can respect enough to be like, okay, it's not for me, but there's obviously people that love this shit. I don't know, I just find myself struggling to really love a Dirty Phonics song. I think the closest I've come is probably Blindfold from Alliance Volume 7. But even then, it's like, it's not really the most unique thing ever. And, a lot of people on the channel already know this, and I'm just going to say it again just for good measure. I was never a fan of Evil Inside. I just never was into that song. I was never into the VIP. And feel free to berate me in the comments about it, as I imagine you're probably already doing right now. For me, it's Barely Alive. They really know how to do their stuff. The 80s ambiance, the versatility, the synths, the heaviness of the drops. They're consistent and no track feels the same, even if they have similar structures and their branding is probably the most unique among the family. Second place goes tie with Graphite and Beast Boy, who are not featured on this video, unfortunately. Well, I guess except for that line. But yeah, similar to E-Craze, Barely Alive's older stuff is not quite for me. Again, it's been a few years since I've actually gone and visited their older work, so who knows, that opinion might change. I guess we'll find out at some point. But regardless, I do really appreciate the style that they've adapted over the past few years, this more retro-y, more, like 80s sort of aesthetic, and I think they rock it really well, especially with how heavy and grimy their basses can be. Now, I still have my gripes with their most recent EP, Casket Case. I still have, very many things to pick with that EP. Even with that in mind, Barely Alive is still incredibly talented, and also just the mask is iconic. You can't really talk about Barely Alive without talking about the mask. I mean, come on. Mine is Oliver's. He never disappointed, and he's just so good. Every song is above 7 out of 10, and he's really consistent. I need Oliver's on NCS, but well. Okay. Oliver's is an interesting pick. Personally, though, Oliver's has never been a favorite of mine. I like a few of the songs, especially within the past few years or so. He's put out some songs that I've really liked, specifically Emotion from that Skin Emotion AB that he put out. I like that one a lot. The one he put out earlier this year I thought was really cool. Oliver's is another one that doesn't really excite me that much, but I can see sort of the creative side of his music and be like, okay, this is kind of neat, even if most of the tracks aren't really for me personally, I suppose. I'll take Infect for 500, good sir. Why, thank you very much, good sir. Bro has had some of the most perplexingly interesting trench sound design, and he's got a nice feel to his tracks that help him to stand out from the rest of his peers on the main cast. The recent Veggie Friends project that even made its way onto Monster Cat, which is crazy, helped improve this, leading to an artist that has many highs to his name, including Jiggle Jam, my beloved. Infect has been one of the biggest growers, not showers, that I've actually had the pleasure of kind of going through and listening to some of his discography. Again, I have not heard everything, so I know a lot of his past stuff is probably not going to be for me. As a matter of fact, his most recent one on Monster Cat Beams is probably one of my favorite songs from him as of late. Maybe even more so than Jiggle Jam, and I fucking love Jiggle Jam. Infect is definitely one of the more creative names, I think. Maybe not every song is for me, obviously, but a very creative talent nonetheless. Elimination is imminent. I was struggling to choose either him or Graphite, but I cannot say no to the GOAT Eliminate. What's with Graphite being featured on here twice, but also was never an answer on the actual poll? His wateristic style is just beautiful, and his consistency is off the rails. Wateristic? Really? His album Off Label was already a good way to get you interested in his style, and I'd love to see him return to that on the label. I'm still This wording is going to kill my brain. I'm still impressed as to why we haven't gotten a collab with him and Virtual Riot, considering how they're good friends. Glad that he's part of the Disciple family. Eliminate, another creative talent, and I think his album really speaks volumes on that. There's a lot of really fun stuff on there, and it really kind of puts Eliminate, in full flow, essentially the whole way through the album. I am a little surprised that it didn't end up on Disciple, being his debut album and all. On that same token, I'm kind of glad it got released with the Create Music group, because they've been signing on a lot of really talented people. Like the Effin' album was released on there last year. The past two Muerte EPs have been on there. Get Off the Internet, his album, was actually my favorite album of the year, up until a certain Mister came along and dropped a 18-track album, but we'll talk about that another day. But yeah, Eliminate's a fucking talent. If you haven't heard his debut album, I highly recommend it. It's super fun. It really is. Just go listen to it. Has to be Phase 1 for me. Being a rock and dubstep fan by heart, he took me by surprise with his Deadline EP, which was when I first discovered him. Hanging by a Thread was a treat, but Inevitable Outcome hit hard even for its simplicity. Then his next EP came and had one of my favorite melodic songs from Phase 1, Raindrops. And then when I heard the news that he left, it was really sad, but at the same time, he made a label. So yeah, there's that. A pretty bold move from Phase 1 to kind of move away from a label just to start his own. But I think he's doing a really good job with Sounds of Mayhem. I think he's running the ship pretty well. Even if it's like just one release a month, pretty much every single time it's been quality. With all that being said though, talking about Phase 1's music, another one that's kind of hit or miss for me. There are some songs that I really do like. There's some songs that I really don't. It just really depends on the song when it comes to this guy. And apparently he's working on a second album, so if that ends up being on Sounds of Mayhem or wherever else, I'll be down to check it out. Fuck yeah. Virtual Riot. How is this even a question? Most of Disciple already releases plenty of elite music already, but with the exception of Barely Alive, nobody else on Disciple has released so much amazing music so consistently for as long as VR has. His recent stuff has been peak and a much needed unique flair for the label. Simulation is a god tier album, and Save Yourself was the EP that got me into the label in the first place. Even tracing back to the earlier days, There Goes Your Money was a pivotal release in the label's history that remains underappreciated and full of gems. And of course, when it comes to compilation albums, VR swings for the fences and never misses. Don't Need You, Dream Logic, Lost at VIP, Continue, There Goes Your Money. I could go on. And of course, my single favorite release on the label is, without a doubt, the Throwback EP. So this guy's clearly not a Virtual Riot fan. If you bring up a question like who is one of the best Disciple artists in the label's history, Virtual Riot is just one of the few that's just, you can't really have the discussion without his name in it. I would not be surprised if a lot of people really hopped on this fence and said Virtual Riot, and to an extent, I would honestly kind of agree. Again, not everything hits for me, but when it does, it really does. I mean, IPG here really said everything that I really needed to say, all in one big message, so yeah, there's no way I could have not had him on this fucking video. And finally, without a doubt, I'd say Fox Stevenson. Don't get me wrong, Barely Alive and Virtual Riot are also goated too, but I don't see anyone mention Fox Stevenson because he's the best music producer I've listened to so far. Although he released only 2 EPs, not very many singles on Disciple, most of them are amazing and memorable. Radar, Saloon, The Heat, Here We Go with Barely Alive, and Miss You are my top 5. Yeah, I'm sorry VR fans, Barely Alive fans, this is gonna have to be my answer. I just love Fox Stevenson stuff. Remember, this is coming from the guy that's very, very picky with his D&B, alright? It just works for me, and I think he's got a lot of fun ideas. I think he's a really talented producer and vocalist and just all-around talent. There's no beating Fox Stevenson for me. If this is the discussion, there's no beating Fox Stevenson. I love the other people, I really do, but no one's beating Fox for me. That is for damn sure. And that about does it for this video. Just a heads up, don't be surprised if within the next couple weeks or so the videos get a little slower. There's not as many uploads, that kind of thing. I've been working a lot more, not just on music, but also just in general, my job. And so with that, I might have to slow down video releases for a while. I'm still dropping a lot of the big stuff, you know, within the next couple weeks. I still want to do a video on the Riot EP that just came out. I'm definitely going to do one on Champo 2. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, I'm definitely doing the Mr. Bill album. There's a lot going on, but I will try and keep you guys updated. I'll try and provide what I can while I'm still not completely busy. But yeah, thanks for spending time with me today, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace out.